Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Grit and Grace Leadership's Talks with myself, Kate Taylor. I'm very excited to be sharing someone amazing in my world with you today. I've got the amazing Leeza Browne, who runs Platinum Education, and she is dominating the world in early childhood sector. She's been in business a long time, and I'm really excited to have her on my podcast. She's a good friend of mine in business, and so I thought it would be great to bring her on today and introduce you to her. And we do a lot of professional development together, a lot of workshops together. And so we're always trying to up our game and to be better and do better and give back more in our community. So thanks for coming on board, Leeza, and having a chat with us.
Thanks so much, Kate. I'm so honored to be part of your podcast.
Oh, I know. It feels like it's been a long time coming.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you've been doing amazing things in the early childhood space, and we actually connected originally through LinkedIn. So people who say you don't make great friends and business connections on LinkedIn are wrong, because we've done that. So we met probably about when my daughter she's now 8. It was when she was a baby, right? You started following along.
Yeah, I started following you a long time ago, really that preface of, women not being able to do everything. And you were one of those role models that I just saw, constantly sharing your life, and how you really combined both of them together was so beautiful. And I loved watching yours and Emma's journey unfold.
Yeah, I know. And it was kind of, back then it was like I couldn't have the whole work from home option, so I had to bring her to the office and set up a nursery in there, which was very different at the time. No one was really doing that. They would leave their baby at home with a nanny or something, or put them in childcare. But for me, it was like, no, I really wanted to make sure I was still able to see her so young, going back to work as a working business owner, small business. So yeah, it was a challenge, and we made it work. And the nanny was based at the office, which worked really well, because she could help me around the office when she slept and things like that, which is a different way to do it. But now we can work from home, so it's socially acceptable to do that. And right. I would be able to do it a lot different if I had another child now. So yeah, it's a very different world we're in, hey?
Yeah, things have changed so much. Hey, it just transforms over time. But I think, in admiration, that's something that you do so well, is to look for those solutions, they're out of the box solutions. And I think that's what we do really well together, is come up with those strategies.
Yeah, definitely. And my background originally, for people that don't know, was in early childhood and childcare. And the things that Leeza does were things that I thought I might do one day, but pivoted into recruitment somehow instead, into social services, so community sector. So still kind of similar. We're still working with children, but with more vulnerable children in out-of-home care, child protection, things like that. And you're dealing with children more in daycare and childcare centres around the country in the work that you do at Platinum Education. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so we've transformed a little bit. Like myself, I'm an early childhood teacher. Been in the sector with my passion for, over 20 years now, but owned my own service, worked my way up, just like our stories. You really originated the same way,
yes.
and transformed. And 5 years ago, I owned my own service, and we sold last year. But for the last 7 years, I've been supporting services in the sector to really simplify their systems and processes, because it doesn't need to be complicated. It can be really easy and really simple. And I don't know about any other profession, but in our profession, we tend to overcomplicate things. And they don't need to be that way. So we show people that it can be different, and really support them to spend their time where it matters most, which is with their people and the children.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think you have to kind of work your way up and experience it for yourself to be able to help other people, right? So the fact that you kind of worked in it, then ended up owning your own centre, then successfully selling a centre, and then now going into that kind of coaching, mentoring, training space, and all the different things that you do now. It's a great opportunity, I guess, to go, hey, how can we work smarter and not harder at this? And how do we help support you to actually do what you want to do, which is actually be with the children and be with your team, rather than doing all the admin, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And that's what we get all the time from all of our leaders in our sector is like, I got into this profession so that I could support children. And then they end up obviously with that burden and that, overwhelm on their shoulders with all of the admin that's waiting for them piling up on the desk.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can imagine. And so tell me about, we'll go back a little bit. Tell me about how you start your day for success. Like, what's your rituals? What are things that you do that you know when you have a winning day that you've done in the morning to get you ready for work?
Yeah, well, this year for me is really about being intentional with how I spend my time.
Yeah.
So it's just a new ritual, actually, but I've always done meditation. So I always end my day with a meditation, going to sleep, and then start my day. So I set my alarm 10 minutes earlier before I
Yep.
wake up. And then when I have that 10 minutes to do that beautiful morning meditation. So it was all about gratitude for me this morning. Once I do my meditation, I don't know why. My mom can't understand why I need to have a shower before I exercise. She's like, why can't you just exercise and then have a shower? But for some reason, it's just my, like my habit. So I get up, have a
Yes.
shower, exercise. So I've found Gina B on YouTube. She's awesome. She does these dance workouts.
Oh, I
Yeah,
have to have a look.
so literally it's a no excuse workout. You can do it, in thongs, in the nude, whatever you like. But you literally get up, she has 20 and 30-minute routines, and it's just fun dance. So it's just movement
Okay.
through dance. And then I think for me, I always start off the day with my team looking at what I need to do, but I think it starts the day before. I think it's really important to write down your list of what you need to do the day before so you can leave it there and then know what you're walking into for the next day. So those will be my 3 tips, really for yourself to take that time to be mindful. The second thing is move. And then the third thing is just know what you need to go into the day with.
Yeah, I love that. And it's setting things up well, I think. And I just remember when we've gone on to business boot camps and we share a hotel room and then you put on the meditation to go to sleep and to wake up. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And then I was like, oh, this actually is nice.
Isn't it so nice?
Yeah.
And literally, I two that I really love. I use just for everyone out there, Insight Timer, and it's just an app that you can download, free app on the phone. And there's just some beautiful sleep meditations on there. And I have 2 that I really, really love, and I think I've only ever heard the end of them like twice, which is a good sign.
Yeah, wow. I know, that's so good. And yeah, definitely they say, my psychologist told me once that if you can listen to 10 minutes a day, it can rewire the neural pathways in your brain. And that helps you deal with stress, or fight or flight mode when you have stress hit you. So definitely it's worth doing that 10 minutes, even if you do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes afternoon, or however you want to do it. But just getting that 10 minutes in a day can really help you deal with stress and the challenges that life can bring throughout each day as a business owner.
Yeah,
so,
and I think just taking more time to be mindful, and present with where you are. So even if it's not meditation, even if it's just 5 minutes of silence and just breathing, I think breathing and breath, which is so great, those messages and those neural pathways that meditation is creating. But even just working on your own internal voice and just focusing on your breath, it's so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I listened to, I think it was a podcast the other day that said that if you breathe out for longer than you breathe in, that's how you can really calm the nervous system. So actually I was in hospital the other day and I had to have a procedure and I was feeling a lot of pain when I came out, and I started doing that. I started breathing, taking those deep breaths and then taking the slow breathing out. And actually it really calmed me. So I was like, okay, this is really good. In the midst of a lot of pain, I was able to kind of calm my nervous system down despite what I was feeling. So it just goes to show that, that breath work and mindfulness can really make a difference in those times of stress.
It's so true. Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of it because, how my mom has her retreat, and so I was lucky enough to go to her retreat, and she does a lot of breath work and ice baths. So I had 3 ice baths in 1 week, which is insane. But that's exactly what it does too. That cold water therapy, it really helps you to know how you would react in different and difficult situations. So when you go to get in, your nervous system goes into that fight, flight, or freeze response.
Yes.
But when you focus on your breath, so before you get in, you breathe in, and then you get in on the out breath so that you don't panic. And what they say is, like, when you hop in the ice bath, because it's hard, like, and that's what I tell myself, I can do hard things. Those mantras, I think those mantras and that inner voice we have is so crucial. Then when you get in, you almost need to, like, that first minute is the hardest, but you breathe through that. And just remind yourself, like, and your brain, because that's, our brain is just trying to protect us, right? So we just remind our brain that we're safe and we're okay. And they say that, what they say is, the way you react in the ice bath in that difficult situation can mirror how you react in real life.
Oh,
so the more you practice doing hard things, the better and easier that it gets.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I did wonder, like, I hear all these people doing these ice baths, and I was like, I don't know if I could do it.
The thought of it never gets easier. But then when you're in, and you just, that means you can do hard things, and it's, retraining your brain to know that you can.
Yeah, wow. I know, it's definitely something that a lot of people are doing lately, and I will try it at some point. I just got into infrared saunas and floats. I think that's
so much research behind float therapy. And sensory deprivation too, which is great in your float.
Yes, definitely. Because we're so busy and we're always on. That's the thing. No one can contact you while you're in there, and that's why I love about swimming in the pool as well. It's such a me time thing.
It's hard to switch off, right? I think that's something as a business owner that I struggle with a lot, is, like, it's almost an addiction to devices and people, and having people from you, that's so tricky to switch off.
It is. And I think, especially when you're always trying to grow and evolve and do new things and constantly innovating and creating, it feels like we're just always even when we're resting, we're getting ideas for things.
It's so true.
But it's good to be conscious, because if you are busy like us, you do need to make conscious effort to take time out, whether that be a retreat, whether that go for a massage or whatever it is. You need to take something for your well-being, and just to give you some time out, away from everything and everyone. So yes, I definitely recommend that. And can you tell us about, like you mentioned about your career path briefly, but can you tell us a bit about the journey you've been on? Because obviously we're recruiters, and we get to hear lots of people's stories around their career path. And I think it would be really interesting for people to hear that people don't make it to the top, just, they just get there. That actually you've gone through that journey to get there to where you are today. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that anything is a journey. And I think something that I've really struggled with is actually enjoying the journey. Like, I'm a very goal-focused and goal-orientated person. And so for many years, obviously at the start of my career, the moment I knew I wanted to work in early childhood was when I was reading with my niece and nephew, and just the light in their eyes, learning something for the first time. I was like, I can be part of that. And so for that moment on, it was, I went out and I sought a traineeship and worked my way up there. And some of the struggles that you have struggles everywhere you go. And some of the struggles in those early days was, I was surrounded by people that, I guess, growth mindset wasn't a big thing for them. So they sort of looked down on me a little bit, because for me, I was just like, I'm a sponge. I want to learn everything I can. So even in the early days, I spent most of the time in the director's office, learning and soaking up. How can I help? Like, what do you need help with? And they're like, what is this trainee girl doing in the office? Like, why is she being able to help? And the director's like, well, she offered. So like, whereas no one else.
How old were you when you started? How old were you
17.
when you started? Okay, like me.
17, really young. And I think that's key. Like, you've got to try a whole bunch of different things. So for me, I knew that school wasn't for me, and that's not my journey. I don't believe in the school system. So I follow Gary Vee a lot, and he talks very predominantly about, like, try everything. You're never too old, you're never too young. Try so many things until you work out what it is that you want to do and that lights you up. And I found it, and I'm so blessed that I was able to find what it is for me that does light me up. But of course, over the many years and many different worlds and jobs and careers, I think I'm very blessed at that period, because 6 months into my traineeship, we actually moved house. And and so I've transferred to the same company, just a different center in a different area. And I'm so blessed for that moment, because had we not moved, I don't think I still would be in early childhood, because it was a very different experience from one center to the other. And and it was funny, actually, full picture. About 6 months ago, I was able to go and visit that same center where I started my traineeship at. Yeah. So different owners, had gone through 3 different owners, and my beautiful client, I didn't realize obviously I was going to see her. And when I turned up, I was like, wow, this is actually where I started my career. It was the bizarrest moment.
Wow.
But it's that full circle. And what was funny is that there's about 4 or 5 of the same ladies that I worked with back when I was a trainee, they were still there.
Wow. That's unusual.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also,
did they remember you?
Well, not at first. They're like, oh, you look familiar. And I was like, well, yeah, I used to work here. And I know. And it was that moment for me, which is this is why growth is so crucial, and growth mindsets are so crucial, because not that there's anything wrong, obviously, in staying in a career long term, but it was just it was real clarity for me with how far I'd come and how far I'd grown.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I actually found the similar kind of experience, because I used to work in a childcare centre in North Sydney 20-something years ago. And then actually coming back, and now my Taylor Care has an office in North Sydney for the last 3 years. So it was that full circle. And I've kind of done that walk where it's not a childcare centre anymore, but it's a school. I think the school took it out when Nona's taken over that building. But just remembering the walk that I used to do to get to work, and, where I used to go out in the library across the road and the park and sit and have lunch there. And just reliving it all. It does, very nostalgic, isn't it? And kind of makes you realize how far you've come.
Yes. And I don't think we have many moments like that in our life.
No, we don't.
You just got to hold on to those moments. And I think everywhere that we spend our time and energy just has that special place in our heart, particularly the first place, I think.
Yes, definitely. Because that was one of my first jobs in childcare, my first job in Sydney in childcare. So that was, very memorable. And I remember being able to walk to work or run if I was running late.
Yeah.
It was like a 5-minute run or a 10-minute walk.
Love that. You look at the clock, as you're walking.
And I'd get there right on the dot.
Yeah.
But it's so good to see how far we've come. And I think we're so busy being in the current moment that we forget the journey that we've been on, hey? And that's something
absolutely.
that is so cool when we get these moments. So tell me, how long have you run Platinum Education Group, and what do you specialize in at the moment in business?
Yeah, so we've been running Platinum Education Group for 7 years. So doing it simultaneously as owning the service, which was always that juggle of doing both at the same time. So when we sold in July last year, no, it was August. Anyway, a little bit, let's say mid last year. It was the first time in my life that I'd ever just done one thing. And where we're at on our journey now, we've come so far. We've got our little team with us that work with us, and we are really supporting the sector. So we see a lot of directors and a lot of leaders really struggling and buckling under pressure. So the biggest thing in our sector is that we weren't trained to be leaders or business owners.
No.
And so, yeah, and so we're trained as teachers. So
Yeah.
what happens is that when we get to the top and we have all of these people that rely on us and our leadership, it's a lot. And you would know in any
Yes.
business leader, like having all of the people rely on you, be able to, you have to pay them, you have to lead them, you have to mentor them, coach them, you have to be this counselor sometimes, unofficial counselor, and put all of our different hats on. And so what we're aiming for this year, like we do a lot of programs, like we have our podcast, we go and do audits. We really like beautiful long-term relationships. So really advising, coaching. But next year we're about to launch our Directors Academy. So that's going to take directors on a 6-month journey and actually show them how to do their job. And these are beautiful things that I wish that I'd learned and that I wish that I'd known at the start of my career.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I think you've evolved so much since I've met you even, and just the way you've had to juggle running the center and doing all this extra on the side. And I think it also came to you, I mean, remember you said you had like people that were investors in childcare centers that didn't know how to run them. They were like, they'd come to you and say, can you run this for me? And so you'd do a management fee every month and help them get their standards up, get make sure they're adhering to what the national standards are and what's required, and make sure that the staff are running well. And you're kind of that go-to person for them to get support from the outside when it's not someone that's necessarily experienced in childcare that's invested in the centre. So that's something you've been doing for years, and I think has added a real value to the sector to make sure that more centres are staying up to standard, aren't they, and to the level that they should be.
100%. Well, the whole reason I do what I do is so that children are seen, heard, and valued, and really respected as little humans, because that's what they are. So for me, the motivation doesn't sit with obviously helping investors make money and things, even though that's what's
byproduct.
The word? Like, yeah, that's a byproduct, thanks, of doing that. But for me, it's all about the children and the people and offering that high quality care. We just don't want people to be alone out there. Like, there's big companies and big corporate companies that obviously own hundreds of services across Australia. But for us, we want to work with the little medium-sized companies that don't so much have those structures in place and all of that support. We just don't want people to be alone on the journey, and we can help them with everything early childhood.
Yeah, I love that. And I think being able to step away from running a centre has meant you can help more people, right? So you've been able to go all over interstate. I've seen you traveling, running workshops, doing all sorts of things across different cities and parts of Australia. So how does that been for you, like being able to kind of get out of running a centre to actually going in and being part of lots of centres? Has that been quite exciting this year?
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I get to go out and meet so many different people, and that this is my life. I think last year, it really, owning a service, it can keep you quite bogged down. And even though I was so blessed to have a beautiful team that I worked with, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them, I think for me this year's really allowed me to have a lot of freedom and go out and see people and help more people on a bigger scale. So I'm just blessed every day that this is my life, and I get to help the amazing superhumans who are doing such beautiful work.
Yeah, that's so important, and so amazing that you've been able to pivot to what you were doing before, to be able to really push all your energy into that area of the business that you're doing now and create and do more. That because I guess being out there, you see more need, you see what's happening, what the challenges are, what people need help with, and you're able to kind of create a program for that, which sounds like you're doing with the directors program for next year. So that's amazing. And what advice would you give to people that are curious about either like starting their own business and what, like if they're, say, like yourself or me, where they've kind of worked their way up in a field but want to go out and do something on their own, whether it's consulting or coaching or whether it's actually running their own centre, what advice would you give someone?
I think really find people, like have a good mentor. So find people that, I think it's so, so crucial to surround yourself with like-minded people and find a mentor or a coach, that can really help you, because every new thing that you do gets you out of your comfort zone. So just know that there's going to be those challenges and those things along the way that you have to really force yourself to push through. And often it's hard unless you're a really internally motivated person. It can be really challenging some days to be like, and I don't know about you, Kate, but how many days have you had where you're like, stuff it, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm throwing it in. I'm throwing in the
It's all too hard.
Yes. And I don't know any business owner out there that hasn't had, days like that. But it's developing that resilience and that ability to be able to push through those challenges. And I'm so blessed to, Kate's been one of these amazing people for me to help keep me motivated and push through and focused on the goals. And we've both got Ray, like our amazing coach that we've worked with, and for me, obviously, a business people. But I think it's really about looking at what it is that you want to do, knowing that it's not going to be easy, because it's definitely not.
No.
And go for it. But you have to believe in yourself. So even if you have people out there that are like, oh, you're crazy, don't do it, as long as you believe in yourself, I think that's the biggest thing to be a business owner. You have to have that internal mindset and really believe in yourself and be driven.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? It's that backing yourself with your idea or whatever it is that you're trying to launch and do, that it's going to work. And you know what? I think also that pivoting quickly if things don't work, like trying something out, and if it doesn't stick or it doesn't land with your audience, then adjusting your approach pretty quickly. Because I think I've learned over the years, like, what's worked at one season during COVID, when I tried to launch the same telehealth business later, it just didn't land. Like it just, I wasn't able to sell the service like I could during COVID. And so I was like, what's wrong? It worked before. Like, why didn't it work? And my husband has to remind me, like, sometimes these ideas are seasonal. Like it's for a need for a time. And maybe it's not what you're meant to do forever in your business. It's just for a season. And so I had to, pivot it back into our main business, which was recruitment. So yeah, I guess it's about having one area that's like your regular stream of income, but then also having that time for trying new things too, and adjusting your approach depending on how it lands and how quick you get the uptake, because it's all timing, isn't it? Sometimes it's like you might have a great idea, but if the timing isn't right, it can fizzle out very quickly.
Oh, 100%. And it reminded me of a few things. It's like, if you're the best kept secret and no one knows about you, how are you supposed to use? And, so like making sure that you are willing to be the face. So that was a big stepping out of my comfort zone for me, knowing, and we've worked through this so much. Like Kate was like, why can't you be on camera? Why can't you just like, I have no idea, Kate, but it just like, it hits, I just can't. So overcoming that, like, gosh, done.
Yeah.
But also I think, having those conversations often and those relationships and speaking to your audience and speaking to your clients and asking them like, how can I help you? Because we know, and I think that's the difference between a business, particularly during COVID, that succeeded and one that didn't, was that the ones that could pivot and put in all of these additional things with how we could help, rather than just sitting there like twiddling our thumbs, during that time. So I think you're exactly right. Like just really knowing your audience and your clients and what they need and having those conversations.
Yeah, and I think coming up to the end of the year, it's a great time to do that. Like it's a great time. A business coach I spoke with last week was like, do a review, almost like have a meeting with your main clients and actually asking them some good questions around what they like, what they don't like, what services they would like for next year, and actually going, can I create that for them, or is that for someone else to do? I think this is a great time of year to try and get in with a few of those regulars and see what their needs are coming up and work out how you might be able to partner with them in the new year with different offerings that you have. Definitely I'm working on that at the moment in the next few weeks. So coming
Beautiful.
up to
And that's what
Christmas.
it's about, having those long-term relationships with the clients that you have. And yeah, just asking them and having those conversations. I usually have clients tell me what they need. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, do I really want to do that? But it's like, you have to ask yourself these questions.
Yeah.
But they're identifying, but no, on the flip side, sometimes you need to tell them what they need, because sometimes they might
Yes.
think they want something, and it's important to obviously listen. I think listening is the most underrated leadership skill, listening and patience. But when
Yes.
once you once you listen and take it all in, then you can actually come back to them as the professional and be able to advise them with what you recommend, because sometimes it's
Yes.
exactly the same outcome that they're wanting, it's just a different pathway to get there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's important, asking really good questions to get the information you need to be able to give the best advice to your clients. And I
Yeah.
often find that too. Getting into, I end up doing more HR advisory stuff mixed in with recruitment these days, because my clients want, that talent, like not just recruitment, but also extra HR advice. So yeah, that's been really interesting. And
Yeah, and you're
tell
so
me
good at
about,
it, because that's something that you've been doing for so long.
I know, and I hear lots of stories, I guess, as
Yeah.
well. Like over the years, I've got lots of experience where I've seen things play out in a certain way, depending on the outcome, and be able to say, hey, this would be how I would handle it with this staff member, and guiding people around that. Because sometimes, like you said, leaders, they just ended up in that role. Even in my industry, they're social workers, psychologists, or counselors that have kind of ended up in management, and they're like, well, how do I manage people now? Like, I get
Yeah.
the human behavior and how to manage like that behavior, but I can't, how do I lead people? And so being able to offer that kind of advice, just even as someone out of the sector but supporting the industry, it's been really good to give them different perspectives or things that we hear on our trainings that we've done, or workshops or podcasts we've listened to, that kind of thing. It does help in helping those clients. So that's awesome. Oh, and can you tell me about, obviously you mentioned a few things, how you start your day and rituals and things, but can you tell me, obviously part of this Grit and Grace talks is around how do we deal with our mental health and well-being as leaders. So is there certain things that you do throughout your week that you would have really help your mental health and well-being?
Yeah, I think that my stress or threshold is quite high. So something that I've been reflecting on over the past few months is that I'm not able to identify when it sort of goes over that threshold. So what I'm trying to do, and what I'm working on myself at the moment, is identifying when it's sort of like in that orange before it gets to that red. And I don't get to red very often, because I think I'm accustomed to that high level, right? But my when I do, it is like, complete meltdown, complete, like, that's it, just shut off. Yes, and just that's it. And probably like twice a year it can happen if it's complete overwhelm. But what I've put in place for myself is that I don't need to be able to recognize when it gets there. So I've actually been planning in advance to take time off. So every 3 months I've been having time off. I've been having switch off time where I just regroup, reflect, look back at my goals. And I've just been finding that you don't realize how much you need it until after you've had it.
Exactly.
So my advice is plan it before you need it. Put it in your schedule, put it in your calendar. And I say this because this is something that I didn't do ever. And this year was something that was a real goal for me, with being intentional with my time. So that was part of that, and part of my mental health was making sure that I put that in place before I even needed it. It was there. I knew it was coming. And knowing and being able to let go and know that I had people around me who were going to do an amazing job while I was away.
Yeah, that prevention
Letting
is better
go
than
is
cure, right?
hard. Yes. Yes. I think, like, as a business owner, like, letting go is so difficult. But I think if we need to be at our best in order to give our best. And
Yes.
one of the biggest messages for me that got me over the line with starting to focus or refocus back on my health was I follow Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. He's incredible if you don't follow him.
Okay.
And one of the first videos I ever watched of him was like, we have nothing without our health. So my business is nothing.
True.
My relationship is nothing. It's nothing without my health.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was, he said in the same sort of like video, was that, people who are unwell only have one wish, and that is to be well. And, how
Wow.
blessed and amazing, and like, we are so in such a beautiful place to be able to have this and be healthy and live our lives and have dreams and have ambitions. But again, without our health, we have nothing.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, and that was such a powerful message for me to just be like, Leeza, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're spending all this time on everyone else and focusing on all this. And I got as much joy and satisfaction out of doing it because I love it. But at the same time, if I'm not at my best, how can I give my best?
Yeah, and I remember as a friend of yours being able to see you going down that hill of like just giving, and you're like, I don't know where to let up. Like, everyone wants a piece of me all the time. I don't know what to do. Like, and I was like, you need to take a break. Like, you need to take some time out. And I remember you used to do that really well. Like a year or two ago, you would like take a week out to Hunter Valley and just like go on your own and like reset yourself. And I was like, you need to do that again. Like, because you hadn't done it for ages, I remember. And because when you're starting out again, obviously you had to rebuild a little bit because you had the business for a while going in the background alongside your childcare center. It was like, no, now I'm going all in on this. So like, actually, it was almost like rebirthing a new business because you were doing more and more, but you didn't have time for yourself, and being able to like take that time out. And I've seen you do that now. You've scheduled it in and you've actually been intentional about that, and taking the time out for well-being and for yourself. Like, I really admire that because, I need to do that.
Oh, it's so tough. And, I think I always say 10 years, but I think it was longer ago now. Gosh, I'm so bad with time. But like 10 years ago, I call it my pie of life. And my pie of life used to be two pieces: home and work. And right. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that. And what happened for me, like one of my pieces actually fell apart and, we're going through some difficult times. So therefore it started to flow into my other piece. And literally, like, it was a really tough time. Like, had a full breakdown, thought I was going insane, realized I couldn't give my best to anyone as a leader during that time. So had to really switch it up and look at what I was doing. But from that moment and that down, I was like, I never, ever want to feel like that again, or allow anything around me to have that power over me to ever get to that place. And I'm not sure I would define it as burnout. I don't know, but it wasn't anyway. But so what I learned from that moment was that it's so crucial to have so many different parts of your pie. So rather than just work and home, it's important to have hobbies. It's important to have friendships. It's important to have, things that you do for yourself outside of that. So I recommend at least 5 parts of the pie, and just making sure that you're managing them and being consistent with making sure that you've got those multiple sections. Because what happens now is if one of them falls apart, I've still got 4 others that I know I'm good. Nailing. It's not about me. It's like, it's just that bit that's having a really like crappy time right now. And I'm okay. Like, I can get and push through that. But when we only have those like 1 or 2 sections, if one falls apart, it tends to impact, which it did for me, my entire life. So that's something that I've been, really focused on over that period. Wow. Yeah, so I'm so grateful for friends like you that really encourage me along the way and recognize, because I think it's important to have those friendships that can give you that brutal honesty, that being like, hey, you know what? Like, I've noticed this in you, and I think, you have you thought about this? I'm so thankful and blessed to have you in my life.
Oh, I'm so blessed to have you in my life. I think having someone that can be that sounding board, that's kind of gone through a lot of the highs and lows that I go through in business in different ways with staffing or challenges or whatever, and being able to go, hey, Kate, what about this? Or what about that? And, like you said, those pies, when those areas of your life are struggling, it's great to have someone that can support you through the personal and the professional parts of your life. And there's not many people that get that, like that get the challenge of running a business and juggling personal life as well. And unless you put yourself out there and network, and yeah, luckily we connected and we're able to be in each other's lives for so many years now. So it's just been amazing.
Yeah,
and to
and I
finish
think
off,
we keep. Oh, I was gonna say we keep helping each other to like level up too. Like it's like, you know, no, you're complacent. How are you gonna level up? Like, let's keep leveling up.
I know, and you're like, yeah, I know, and it's hard because you go through those moments, and we've kind of been at different times where we've had our low moments. You're at a high and I'm at a low. We've been able to kind of balance each other out through those journeys.
So true.
So I'm so grateful for that. And in terms of, yeah, like your favorite quote that shows grit and grace in life and leadership, what would you say?
Yeah, I always fall back on, there's a quote that, I don't know if it's a quote actually or an analogy, but it's like, you know how you have a candle, the one with the candle, and it's like if you take your light and light, you know, all of these other candles, it doesn't take away from your light, it only makes the room brighter. And so for me, that's always what I've lived by, is that, you know, I think be open to sharing, be open to passing on your knowledge, your inspiration, your wisdom, because you're only making the room brighter. It doesn't take anything away from you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Oh, thank you so much. I loved our chat today, and I've really appreciated all your support in life and business over the last several years, almost a decade now coming up to. And I can't wait to see what we both create and do next in life and business. So thank you so much for your time today. And how can people get in touch with you, Leeza, if they would like your support or get involved in your business?
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I think I'm on all socials, so Leeza Browne Platinum Education, or you can find me on all social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, just if you want to connect for a chat, would love building connections and relationships with like-minded humans. Exactly how we met, Kate.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciated you having me on.
Me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and love it. Share it with your network if you think someone might resonate with this today. I hope you have an awesome week ahead, and we will get out a new episode soon.